All right, welcome back here to Talks of Football Futures. Looks, the books have had win totals and other bets out for quite some time, but the early summer is when the sharp bettors really lock in and start poking holes and spotting some value. And for that, we bring in our sharpest guy, Propstarz, also known as Alex Selznick. I say his nickname first because that's how you actually know him. Proppy, good to see you. I want to pick your brain on a couple things here. First of all, about this time of year, when you're betting futures in June, before we even get to camp, right? What are the key things that you focus on? Is it the schedule? Is it the roster and the depth? Is it coaching trends? Maybe just where the number looks wrong? Like, talk to me about your process.
Yeah, it's a combination of some of those things, Katie. But really, it's information. Information is key. It's reading between the tea leaves and just gathering as
Mm.
much possible information as you can. Obviously, we've got a long ways to go before meaningful football is being played. But right now, there's OTAs, there's mini camps, there's positional battles taking place, and you can certainly gather a lot of information from there, especially if you have coaches that are forthcoming with the information. But really, I think beat writers, local beat writers,
Yeah.
relying on them will provide tremendous information for you. So some of it's speculative, of course. But yeah, just gathering as much information as you can, keeping your ear to the ground, basically getting news before it becomes news on the national stage can give you a pretty significant edge.
And Proppy, do you treat these kind of futures more like portfolio pieces or just plays that you expect to beat the closing line?
These are long-term plays, Katie. Typically, they're going to be a couple of months. So I look at these. These are a lot of long shots. Some of the markets that I'm
Mm.
into are awards markets or season-long props. So knowing that, I allocate a portion of my bankroll towards these bets, kind of understanding that the money or the units will be locked up for a minimum of 2 to 3, maybe even 4 months. So that certainly factors in to the process. What I do personally is I set aside a percentage of my bankroll for strictly futures, be it 5, 10, 15, 20%. And then basically, yeah, the rest of it goes towards season, week to week season stuff and the games. But yeah, a pretty hefty portion of my betting portfolio is reserved for the futures. I do think there's lots of opportunities and lots of emerging betting markets as well, and certainly lots of ways to make money with these markets.
Okay, I love it. So let's talk about some of your favorites here when it comes to win totals. Looks like you are fading both the Dolphins and the Packers. Walk us through your thinking here, Proppy. Is it regression? Is it the strength of schedule? Or is it something deeper?
Well, with Miami, they just had maybe one of the more tumultuous off seasons of any team in the NFL. I also think their number of 8.5 wins, that has a lot more to do with basically the talent, the top end talent, and the season they had a couple years ago where they won 14 games. But if I told you this team had one Pro Bowler last season and it wasn't Tyreek Hill, it wasn't Tua, wasn't Jalen Ramsey, it was Jonnu Smith.
Mm.
Also, when we're talking about the Dolphins as well, we're talking about a quarterback who's one concussion away from not just a season-ending injury, potentially a career-ending injury. Then you have multiple players who are disgruntled. The aforementioned Tyreek Hill, Jonnu Smith, there's rumors that he could be on the move, and Jalen Ramsey all seems like it's a foregone conclusion that he'll be playing on a different team next year. Then the offseason came. The Dolphins made no real splashy acquisitions. I wasn't impressed with their draft either. I think there's a lot of turmoil. I don't think Steven Ross, the owner of the team, I don't think this team is managed well. I think there's a lot of rifts inside this organization. I think 9 wins, frankly, is a massive number for them. I'd put their number at 5.5, maybe 6.5 at most. So tremendous value fading this Dolphins team as far as I'm concerned.
Do you think that Mike McDaniel's days are numbered in Miami if they do have the season that you are predicting them to have?
I think it's likely he may have a little bit of a longer leash considering he did have the great season 2 years ago, but they have come up short basically in the playoffs. They also come up short when they face the class of the AFC, whether it be the Bills, the Chiefs. Other teams have really had their way with them. So to me, they're really a paper tiger, but just a lack of depth here. Also, we Green Bay, I wanted to touch on as well. I think they're a very good fade candidate here for a variety of reasons. Last season, I think pretty much everything went right for them from a health standpoint. They played above their heads, but I did not like their offseason. Really didn't add a lot of guys in free agency. Nate Hobbs was maybe their biggest acquisition. I think they overpaid for him. Didn't love the draft outside of the wide receiver, Matthew Golden. I thought they really overachieved last year. Then when you factor in this division, it's going to be really tough once again. You've got the Detroit Lions, the favorite in the NFC North. You've got a Vikings team that won 14 games, although I think that's going to be difficult to replicate. And then you have a Bears team who everyone believes is going to take a significant jump forward, considering Ben Johnson is the coach. You added all the players in free agency and in the draft. So I think they're in a tough division, and they look like a really strong fade to me as I'm concerned. I like fading them both. Their season-long win total, and then you can get them at plus money to miss the playoffs, which I like as well.
Ooh, I'm pretty high on the Bears this year, Proppy, but I was high on them last year. I think I might have just been a year too early. But let's talk about some individual futures. It's interesting to me because I see you like Bryce Young over 3,150 passing yards. The number does seem kind of low for a second-year quarterback, but what makes you so confident in a bounce back for Young?
Kind of low, Katie. He'd have to average 185 passing yards over
But it's
17
Bryce
games.
Young we're talking about here.
Well, we're talking about the same guy over the final 3 weeks of the season that had a 7 touchdown to 0 interception touchdown to interception ratio, won all 3 games, had a quarterback rating of over 100, and now he's in year 2 of this Dave Canales offense. And the primary emphasis in this offseason was upgrading Bryce Young's offense, spending the 8th overall pick on Tedder McMillan. That's the highest draft pick the Panthers have in franchise history used on a wide receiver. And we're talking about the same team that drafted Steve Smith and DJ Moore and plenty of other very good wide receivers. So he profiles similarly to Mike Evans. Xavier Legette is an emerging young wide receiver. I like the running backs as well. I think this Carolina offense is going to be much more competitive. I think 3,150 yards. Bryce Young could get there in 13 to 14 games. So that's the absolute floor as I'm concerned. This is already one of my biggest season-long positions, and I like Bryce Young to have a solid year too.